must tell people it's not free. Don't bluff people.
The year was 2016. The occasion, the Bukit Batok by-election. The speaker was Deputy Prime Minister Mr. Tharman. He was whacking the SDP for pushing for populist policies, as he called them, like universal healthcare and unemployment insurance. For context, the SDP had proposed an unemployment insurance scheme for Singaporeans a year before in 2015. We called it the Re-employment Scheme and Temporary Assistance for the Retrenched, or in short, Restart. Well, 9 years later, PM Lawrence Wong announced just such a scheme in his National Day rally. He called it the Skills Future Job Seeker Support Scheme. Not only did the PAP follow our idea, it also echoed our reasons for it. Well, the SDP's Restart scheme said that the unemployed would undergo training and MOM will assist in matching the job seekers' skill set. Mr. Wong echoed that those affected go for training, career coaching, and job matching services. But there's also a difference between our policies. While the SDP proposed that those retrenched be paid an average of 50% of the last drawn salary for 18 months or until the worker finds another job, capped at the prevailing median wage. The PAP's proposal only pays $1,000 a month for 6 months. How is this sufficient for a family with bills to pay, children to feed, elderly parents to look after? If the PAP is serious about helping Singaporeans, it should offer meaningful assistance rather than just making cosmetic proposals. But this is another matter for a debate at another time. For now, I want to focus on the subject of the PAP criticizing the SDP's proposal and then later adopting them. Take another example. In the 2011 GE, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan accused us of being the most middle-class, unfriendly opposition party because we advocated, among other ideas, raising income taxes for the top 1% earners in Singapore. But then in 2015, his party raised income taxes for the top 5% earners. Example number 3. In 2014, we published our education policy in which we said that the Gifted Education Program, or GEP, exacerbates the problem of elitism in Singapore schools and should be abolished. Yep, you guessed it. In his National Day rally, Lawrence Wong announced that the GEP would be discontinued in its current form. Now, this trend of the PAP criticizing first and then following the SDP's ideas goes way back to 30 years ago when I published my first book, Dare to Change, in 1994. In it, I wrote about the lack of productivity growth, unfair CPF policies, the regressive GST, high healthcare costs, transportation issues, HDB prices, unfair COE system, and of course, streaming in our schools. Back then, Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, with much venom, spat, "Dare to Change is a rehash of some old Western liberal ideas which have failed," and Chee Soon Juan packages them together, calls it a book. For good measure, he added, "Some opposition politicians want us to change. They say, dare to change. Change for the better or for worse. If better, by all means, go for it. But if for the worse, and the result is more bumbling idiots in Parliament, then we will all be in trouble." Today, the PAP recognizes that Singaporeans are deeply concerned about the issues I raised back then. Take streaming, for instance. In Dare to Change, I wrote, "A major problem in premature streaming is the subject of labeling." In 2018, Minister Indrani Raja echoed, "Singapore society has to find a way to deal with labeling." I also wrote, "Children who are stigmatized live out this perverse effect of self-fulfilling prophecy." In 2019, then Education Minister Ong Ye Kung followed suit. Entering a stream that is considered lower can carry a stigma. It becomes self-fulfilling. 30 years belatedly, the PAP now announced in Forward Singapore, we will abolish streaming. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't mind the PAP echoing what we said and adopting our ideas. If it's good for the people, it doesn't matter whose idea it was. What I find objectionable is the PAP always extolling itself in glowing terms while running down the opposition. The PAP is never shy of describing itself as the A-team that is exceptional with helicopter vision. And this is how Mr. Chan Chun Sing described his party. Singapore must possess exceptional leadership teams that can win the trust of the people. Modesty has never been the party's strong suit. At the same time, the PAP slams the opposition as, in the words of Lee Hsien Loong, bumbling idiots. Now, when we run such propaganda decade after decade, Singaporeans internalize in their minds PAP good, opposition bad. And this is the reason why up until today, the PAP still controls the media, so that the Singapore Press Holdings and Media Corp can continue to sing its praises while minimizing coverage about the opposition. I want to remind everyone, especially younger Singaporeans, that there was no internet and no social media back then. There was no TikTok or Instagram or WhatsApp. I couldn't do videos and talk directly to you like what I'm doing right now. I couldn't counter the PAP's personal attacks and character assassination. We were at the mercy of the newspapers and TV stations. The decades of unrelenting propaganda has taken its toll. Many people, especially the older generations, have come to think that the PAP is the hero while the opposition is the villain. The PAP wants you to think that it has cornered the market on talent and ability, and worse, that Singapore cannot survive without it in control. Well, nothing can be further from the truth. Now, I've said this before and I will say it again. The fight is not against the PAP. It is against what the PAP has done to our minds. The SDP doesn't claim to have a monopoly on ideas, but we certainly don't take a backseat to anyone in the PAP when it comes to substance, talent, and capability. It is one thing to criticize the SDP for our policy prescriptions, but quite another to refuse to acknowledge our contributions to the nation's affairs. But as sure as the sun rises tomorrow, the PAP will again, in the next GE, slam the SDP and flood the news with its attacks during the short 9 days of campaigning. Just wait and see. And then after the elections, it will adopt our ideas. I want to use this opportunity to alert Singaporeans. Please, don't fall for this tired and worn-out trick. Now, I'm selling my books again this Sunday at 8th September from 2 to 4 p.m. again at Ang Mo Kio Hub. It's my way of listening to you and getting a sense of the pulse of our people. But the PAP is now also trying to flood the social media with its propaganda. Every time we criticize its policies, its internet brigade says, "So what's your solution?" Well, the next time these trolls say this, show them this video. Help us counter this. We depend on you, our fellow citizens, to help spread the truth by sharing our videos and following us on social media. And in the process, tell the PAP,
Don't bluff people.
People can say own self, check own self, but it is a virtue. I see it always as a virtue. You own self, cannot check own self.